Today I want to talk about healthism. Now, in a previous video, which you can view up there, I talked about how I would be developing the enemy, the antithesis of eating enlightenment, and how my character for for the enemy of eating enlightenment was Venom. And as I sat on Venom, the character Venom, I started realizing and having intuitions and senses that I was missing something. And then at work one day, someone mentioned this word healthism. And I'd never heard of healthism before, but I looked it up and then I was like, holy crap! Holy guacamole! And I was like, healthism is the backbone of Venom, is the antithesis of eating enlightenment. And so in this video, I'm going to kind of weave these concepts together and just really talk about healthism and how this cultural paradigm underpins all the overeating struggles. So if you like this video, drop a like, really helps. Let's dive in. Healthism. In a nutshell, health is your responsibility, period. Healthism assumes that you have a childhood where you were attuned, your emotional needs were listened to, you were modeled how to eat, etc. It's essentially saying you have every tool you need, and therefore health is your responsibility. And don't get me wrong, health is your responsibility. But the problem is the shameful attitude behind healthism. Healthism says you have every tool, so if you aren't healthy, it's your fault, right? Don't get me wrong, personal responsibility is good. But the assumption that you have every tool and that it's your fault and you should feel shame and bad if you aren't healthy or aren't quite sure how to be healthy is the venom. This shame is the venom. That's why the character Venom I really liked, because shame it can cover you, it can take over your identity, and healthism does this. It's insidious. It speaks, it can, the venom of shame can cover you and speak in your voice, and you think it's your voice, but it's really the voice of shame. It's very deceptive. And so healthism is just this nasty cultural belief that is everywhere. It is everywhere. And the problem with healthism, look at these motivational sayings. I'm sure you sense the energy and the superficiality behind them. Just do it, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's all this is healthism. This picture right here is healthism. It's fundamentally flawed because you only have one way to be healthy. Try harder, right? If you have every tool, right? It assumes that you have every tool. If you have every tool, if you have every, you know, if you have every tool, mental, emotional, spiritual, if you have every tool, and you're wise and you have all these, if you have everything, then just apply those tools and those skills and be healthy, right? Just do it, right? Just do it. Don't be lazy, just do it. But that's the assumption. That is wrong. Listen, I never learned it. I didn't even know what an emotion was till I was 18 and when I read a book. I was cut off from the head down. How am I supposed to manage my health when I can't even feel my body or my hunger? Or I never learned these things, all right? So healthism then tells me I just need to try harder to be healthy. But I'm missing the tools. So if I'm missing something and then it doesn't work, all I'm left is to try harder, to be more organized, to be more disciplined, to plan better, to be more logical, to be more of a man, to not be as weak. Basically, you're left with only one action, and that's to try harder. And, if you're anything like me, you get sick and tired of this effing approach and you quit. You say, why bother, right? But of course you have to try because it's your health. You can't just let yourself slide into unhealth. And so you get trapped. The harder you try, the harder you fall. There's no other way forward. This ruins your life. It freaking ruins your life. Healthism does. It It's venom. It is venom. It is poison. It covers your skin and your eyes and your perception, and you can't see another way, and it's sticky, and it's horrible. It's horrible. So this is the enemy of eating enlightenment. This thing that covers you, that is taught by our society, right? That is reinforced by every cultural paradigm that we have. It floats in the air, and so we hate ourselves. You know, our culture teaches us to hate ourselves, right? Because we're not enough. It assumes that it's like I hate healthism. I hate the venom of it, the insidious nature and how it tricks us and deceives us and makes us get trapped in this overeating cycle. And so here's another graphic where you can see that the shame and everything, it all springs from the shame. You blame yourself. Shaming is blaming. So because it's your fault, you just have to try harder, and then when you try harder, you're just more productive. You just run around like a hamster. You exhaust yourself. You become depleted. Your soul is exhausted. You're depleted internally. I always said that I would have a hole in my heart that I was trying to fill. And then inevitably, you have to fill it up with food or whatever substance, right? It isn't just food. It could be alcohol or pornography or video games or TV or drugs or sex or gambling or shopping, whatever. We have this hole. And then we binge on whatever, and we feel this guilt and this shame, and healthism then kind of infects our mind and says, hey, this is all your fault. This is all your fault. Why don't you apply all the tools? Why don't you overcome all your struggles? Well, guess what? If you have a splinter in your foot and you only have a hammer to get it out, when you try to get out that splinter, you're just going to bash your foot in. You're going to make yourself worse. And healthism says, oh, why don't you get the splinter out with a tool? Sorry, this video is a little messy, but just like healthism says, why don't you get the splinter out? And it's like, the assumption again is that you have all these tools that you can get the splinter out. You have the little tweezers and the needle where you can do the delicate work. I don't know about you, but I never was given the tools to do the subtle emotional work, to do the ability to challenge my thoughts and to accept them on the other hand, and to feel my body and to, listen to my hunger and to notice how foods make me feel and to juggle the stress and blah. Like, these are the tweezers of health. These are the subtle tools. These are emotional, psychological, spiritual, mental tools. I never was given them. It's taken me a decade to learn them. Healthism says you have all the tools, so if you don't use them, it's your fault. But God damn it, we were not given the tools. We were not given the tools. It's not our fault. And so seeing this enemy is just so important. So important. Because when we see the darkness, when we shine light onto the darkness, then we can start to become free of it. And so naming the enemy and giving this character venom, right? I think the character venom, we have healthism as kind of an intellectual term. And then we have the raw, the character, the emotional. That's the venom side of things, right? So that's sort of how I'm fleshing out this video. If you do want to see that other video where I mentioned it, you can again check out that one above. And that concludes my little rant about healthism. So, namaste. If you like the video, drop a like. And I always got to end on namaste. So, namaste.